Part 60. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 592. Dragon veins are the destiny of a dynasty. Some dynasties did not even have one. Starting from the time of Emperor Yin, the 5 states of Daxia gradually formed 5 dragon veins, which shows how great the destiny of the Daxia dynasty continues to this day. There are also more and more people coveting it. It was precisely because Zhang Ziyu knew this that she asked to be buried in Changping Mountain after her death. Health, watch over this land. Even in death, he still holds a spear in his hand to shock the enemy in battle. Changping Mountain is not only the dragon's veins, but also the tomb of the female general who founded the country when she was 6 years old. Sci-fi couldn't restrain her restrained violence at all. Behind her, Yu Xian also heard Qi Xingzi's words completely, and his expression instantly turned cold. The 5 states of Daxia have 5 dragon veins. Because of the topography and geographical location, Zhongzhou Tianshan is in the center and Nanzhou Mountain is surrounded by the sea. They are the 2 safest mountains and rivers. Zaiyao Mountain in Bizhu, Fuzhang Mountain in Dongzhou, and Changping Mountain in the west were attacked from time to time more than 1,000 years ago because they were adjacent to other continents. Fuzhou Mountain was damaged once, and it took the efforts of several onmyoges from the Ji family to barely restore it. If there is another break in the dragon veins of Changping Mountain, then there will be unpredictable consequences if one faces the other from the west. This person must be very good at feng shui and understand the topography of the 5 states of Daxia, otherwise he would not choose Changping Mountain to start. Yu Xian pressed a button on her phone. There was a roar in the sky. Feng San and Shen Ying quickly drove a huge helicopter over. Qi Xingzi had been on the road for 4 hours, and his legs were still a little weak. He was lifted onto the plane by Yu Xian and was in shock. Qi Xingzi drank a bottle of water and stammered, "Brother, who are you talking about? There are too many mountains in Changping Mountain, and the dragon veins move every year. How can they find it accurately?" Sci-fi and Yu Xian looked at each other, fell silent, and thought of the same person invariably. Ji Qinggui's godfather. This person's strength is not very high, but he is ranked first in the study of luck, gossip, and other related research. T18 and 0, including Yuan Mingji, are looking for him, but there is no trace of him so far. It seemed as if it had disappeared out of thin air. Sci-fi just asked, "What's going on?" "My old man discovered it while watching the sky at night." Qi Xingzi took a breath. He said the matter was urgent, so he went first and asked me to come find you. Sci-fi's eyes narrowed. Celestial phenomena are a common prediction method for onmyoji. The powerful onmyoji can calculate the specific date of a person's death through the astrolabe. She turned around and asked, "Brother Ninth, how long will it take before we get there?" Yu Xian patted her shoulder and comforted her, "We can get there in an hour, but the magnetic field of Changping Mountain is special and even transportation cannot enter. I'm afraid it will take some time." Qi Xingzi volunteered, "It's okay. I will lead the way when the time comes. Although my old man is not as powerful as his elder brother, he can definitely stop him for a while." "Yes, I know." Sci breathed out slowly. If she couldn't even protect Zhang Ziyu's tomb, then she would never be able to forgive herself in this life. At 6 o'clock in the morning, the sun rises, and the morning light is dim on the horizon. The mercenaries put out the bonfire. The young man also conducted a new round of detection. The result this time made him nod with satisfaction. "Very good, we can start digging." "Boss, look at it, these netizens are like crazy." A person in the team handed over his mobile phone. "Isn't it just a TV series? I'm crying like this." 3 or 4 episodes were released last night, triggering a new round of discussion and drama-watching frenzy. It is no exaggeration to say that even the maids and escort actors in the general's palace received great attention. The whole nation is watching it. It is a phenomenal hit drama. This is the only one in 10 years. The young man didn't take it seriously. How great. The more popular this show is, the more money we will make. As for Zhang Ziyu, if he hadn't accepted the mission, he wouldn't have known who it was. Others nodded in agreement. The more people know about Zhang Ziyu, the more valuable the things in her tomb will be. Hey, is this the TND Alliance Cultural Relics Appraisal Institute? The young man dialed a number. Let me tell you in advance that my guys and I found Zhang Ziyu's tomb. The things were found in Zizhu. Do you have any information? Priority. One piece of cultural relic is worth 100 million, and it doesn't matter if it's a penny less. If you can't get the money together and send it to the Principality of Longli within 3 days, I will sell everything to the Western continent. Without giving the other party any time to respond, the young man hung up the phone and asked the team members to send a few more photos. This is the periphery of the tomb, but you can also see some traces from thousands of years ago, with Zhang Jiajin's totems engraved on it. Archaeologists can naturally determine at a glance whether it is true or false. At first they thought someone was playing a prank, but after seeing the photo, they couldn't sit still. The entire Cultural Relics Appraisal Institute was instantly in chaos. Only Gu Huiyan can make the decision on such a major matter. After hearing this, Gu Huiyan jumped up and was furious. What a tomb robber! Quick, find out where this place is. Contact the Thousand Army Alliance and rush over quickly. We must not let them succeed. It's a small amount of money to pay. In order to protect the cultural relics, he has to borrow money to get the cultural relics back, not to mention hundreds of millions, but billions. But if Zhang Ziyu's tomb is destroyed, it will be irreversible. Gu Huiyan was angry like never before. That was Zhang Ziyu who dedicated her life to Daxia. The Zhang family is full of loyal people, but after their death, someone still wants to dig their graves. We are checking. The staff was busy, their voices anxious. President, the satellite signal disappeared in Zizhu, and the specific location cannot be determined. Zizhu, Gu Huiyan frowned. According to the degree of weathering of these stones in the photo, and the vegetation, Changping Mountain. In Changping Mountain. He cheered up and walked out while contacting the Thousand Army Alliance. It's really because the 3 families and 4 alliances haven't come out for a long time that no one dares to act recklessly in Daxia. At this time, the young man had already led a group of people into the passage. They went down into the tunnel and walked carefully. Boss, why does this tomb look so shabby? Someone complained. Isn't she a female general of the Genkuo? She has the word Genkuo as her title. She doesn't even have a burial object, right? They also robbed the tombs of some earls and dukes in the western continent, and there were a lot of gold, silver, and gems at the entrance. This was the first time they saw such a poor tomb, empty. It should be inside. The young man was still very calm. If it was outside, it would have been discovered long ago. How could it be our turn? They continued walking inside. But before taking a few steps this time, the candle in his hand suddenly went out. At the same time, there seemed to be an invisible barrier blocking their progress. What's going on? The young man was furious. Is it possible that there are some formations set up by Onmyoji here? Onmyoji is just a rumor. If there really were those weird Onmyoji techniques that could move mountains and seas, wouldn't the world be in chaos? At most, they are just some feng shui masters and monks. The young man patiently touched the surrounding rock walls and finally found a breakthrough. At this moment, Mr. G finally arrived. He yelled, "Stop! Onmyoji is activated." Boom! The young man flew backwards and hit the stone wall 10 meters away. Mr. G took a few steps forward, his eyes turned red. Who are you? The young man collapsed on the ground and was stepped on by Mr. G. He was speechless. In panic, he subconsciously threw out the rope in his hand. What surprised and delighted him was that the rope actually trapped Mr. G. The other mercenaries were also surprised. Someone blurted out, "Boss, that gentleman is such a god. He actually expected that someone would stop us and gave us this rope in advance." The young man stood up with the support of two team members and snorted coldly, "Who do you care about me, old man? I advise you to mind your own business, or be careful that adult kills you." He pulled the other side of the rope and pulled Mr. G forward. Buzz buzz. The compass suddenly vibrated violently. The young man was overjoyed. "This is it. Quick, dig a small opening first." The adult said that even if it was just a little bit, the dragon vein would no longer be complete. Mr. G was shocked and angry. "How dare you?" But he didn't know what kind of rope it was, and he couldn't break free. There are so many paranormal incidents recorded in the record books of the Supernatural Bureau, but nothing like this has ever happened. Mr. G was also extremely anxious. If he hadn't had the habit of observing the sky at night, no one would have known that someone was planning to attack Changping Mountain. But in the end it was too late. "Why don't we dare?" The young man turned around and smiled contemptuously. "Aren't you very capable? It's just that. Wait, there are a lot of good things in this tomb. I will give you some compensation when the time comes." Even though he said this, he still had lingering fears. Fortunately, when he received the mission, the adult also gave him a weapon, otherwise the old man's methods were unpredictable and they would not be able to do anything to him. It's different now. He is the master. The young man took out a small shovel from the toolbox, his hands trembling with excitement, and started digging at the position specified by the compass. Boom! A strong force came and he fell to the ground again. The other mercenaries instantly became alert, pointing their weapons at the entrance of the cave. "Who is it?" In the half-darkness, the girl walked in slowly, carrying a few mercenaries who were guarding outside. With a bang, they were all thrown to the ground. The young man was shocked, raised his gun, and said sternly, "If you dare to come here, I will kill you. This gun is the most advanced weapon given to me by your excellency." Sci-fi raised his head, his eyes were clear and indifferent, and his voice had no warmth. "What kind of gun?" "Of course it's in my hands." The young man's voice stopped abruptly. Boom! There was a loud noise, and the gun in his hand suddenly exploded. Crack! Crack! Snap! Snap! The guns in the hands of an entire mercenary team turned into scrap metal in an instant, and they all fell to the ground and turned into pieces. See you tomorrow. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 593. The entire cave fell into dead silence for an instant. There was no sound at all. A strong burning sensation rolled across the skin, a squeaking sound was the sound of the hair burning, and the leading young man let out a shrill scream. His whole body was knocked down by the impact of the explosion, and he was rolling on the ground in pain. Although the other mercenaries were not so seriously injured, they all retreated in horror, their legs weak and trembling. In just 1 second, this mercenary group lost its combat capabilities. Where do women come from who are so fierce? Mr. G was shocked and felt a little chilly. This was the first time he saw Sci-fi take action. The only pure combat on Myoji is truly terrifying. No wonder the Fujiyama family was immediately frightened. Facing Yuwu, they could only feel awe from the bottom of their hearts. Sci-fi took a few steps forward, lifted up the young man whose face had been completely burned by the flames, and asked in a very soft voice, "Want to dig out the dragon's veins?" The young man opened his mouth, but before he could say a word, he was punched hard in the abdomen. He was used to being beaten and killed, and he was also a doctor. Fu Qing had always been able to control his strength very well. It would not only knock the young man unconscious with one punch, but also allow him to reach the critical point of maximum pain. Unprecedented pain swept through his whole body, and the young man bent over in pain. He only felt that his internal organs were violently tumbling. And his face was burned clean, his eyes were blind, and he couldn't see the person in front of him clearly. Fear strangled his heart like a cold snake, and the young man's nerves almost collapsed at this moment. Who is this person? There is such a powerful person protecting the dragon veins. Sci-fi asked calmly, a dead person is not a big deal. Another punch landed. The young man opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Without her, how could a piece of trash like you survive to this day? Sci-fi was completely unable to restrain her rage. She said coldly, do you know how hard and difficult it is for her? She decided to serve the great Xia dynasty when she was 6 years old. She dedicated herself to the battlefield at the age of 18 and died in battle at the age of 24. Doesn't she want to spend her life in peace? Isn't there any other way she can choose? She is different from me. I can only play her story, but not her person. Why do you touch her tomb? Why should she not be able to live in peace after death because of a trash like you? What the hell, you deserve it too. The young man couldn't answer anything. He was in so much pain that he almost fainted, but his consciousness was extremely clear. Life is worse than death. For the first time, the young man deeply experienced this feeling. He wanted to beg for mercy, but his vocal cords were burned and he could not make a sound at all. He could only scream intermittently. There were no thoughts left in his mind, only endless regrets flooding his heart. At this time, almost at the same moment, the headquarters of the Evolutionary Alliance. Laboratory Control Division. Huge evolution energy fluctuation detected. Huge evolution energy fluctuation detected. Huge evolution energy fluctuation detected. The siren sounded a warning 3 times in a row, and the energy bar on the screen was rising rapidly. It had turned red and was about to break through the critical point. A huge amount. When the staff saw these 2 words, their expressions changed drastically. Even S-class evolvers can only be described as high stakes at best. What is a huge amount? The staff hurriedly tried to locate the central point of energy explosion, but could not determine the specific location. He became even more panicked and reported the matter immediately. The Alliance leader was injured a few days ago and is recuperating. The young Alliance leader Chris is responsible for handling all major affairs in the Alliance. After listening to the report from his subordinates, Chris was also a little surprised. Can't locate it? Can't determine the level of the evolver. On the side, the captain of the guard was also very anxious. Your Highness, I'm afraid it's the Revenge Organization. They haven't made any big movements in the past few years, but they must be secretly expanding. Maybe this is the new weapon they have developed. Chris's eyes darkened. Yes, I know, you and I will go to Free Continent. There were indeed many strange things happening during this period, which made him feel like a storm was coming. Chris sighed. And until now, he has not contacted her who saved him at that time. If she were here, things would be settled easily. As for the word white moonlight spread by the outside world, there is nothing wrong with it. Here, in Changping Mountain, even Mr. G felt difficulty breathing. Just when the cave was also trembling, there was a sound. Ching ching. A hand pressed her shoulder. Calm down. The energy in Si-fucking's body was still running rampant. Yu Xian's eyes paused, and he stretched out his arms to hug her tightly. Even though the white shirt sleeves fell apart due to the majestic energy of her body, he did not let go. Just one voice after another, it's okay now, calm down, okay. There was silence for a full 5 minutes, but it felt like the end of the world. Si gradually calmed down, and her expression was unusually dazed. Brother Ninth. It's okay, Yu Xian sighed softly, feeling a little distressed. It's not worth it for this kind of person. Evolvers with higher strength have the worst energy stability. The ability to copy this evolution can be said to be unique in the world. There is no second evolution in history that has such a terrifying ability. Because it breaks all the laws of evolver abilities. An ability has only one direction. Ryujian belongs to the spiritual brand, while Xia Yankaio's airflow control is elemental mastery. No one can have the ability to be an evolver in both directions at the same time. But Sci-fucking is different. As long as she wants, she can have any ability. But it also brought her great side effects. Sci-fucking exhaled slowly, and the hostility in her body finally faded away. She slowly squatted down holding her knees, huddled into a small ball, and said in a low voice, "I was wrong." Yuzian was startled for a moment. He squatted down, put his hand on her head, and suddenly smiled. "Why do you suddenly apologize?" Sci-fucking raised his head and glanced at him. "Because you want to train me." Yuzian looked a little helpless. "No, you are fine." "I do not believe. Really do not have. You would have lectured me before anyway." Yuzian pinched his eyebrows for the first time. He could never talk to her, so he could only let her go. Ji Xingzi was the last one to come over, panting, "Oops, old man, why are you wrapped in a rice dumpling? You brat." Mr. Ji was furious. "You evildoer. Why don't you come over quickly and untie the rope?" Ji Xingzi untied the rope. Mr. Ji hurriedly spoke, "This rope is very strange, and it doesn't look like a magic weapon from my yin-yang and five elements realm." Although he has lived in seclusion for a long time and is somewhat out of touch with modern technological society, he is still at the forefront of yin-yang and five elements and will never admit his mistakes. Sci-fucking stood up and frowned. "Let me take a look." She took the rope. From the outside, this is indeed a very ordinary rope. Next, Yuzian's words confirmed her guess, "Things from the Eternal Continent. Same as the Tiankongyun sword." Sci-fucking nodded and said, "Then I will take it into the game and have a look. I should be able to trace who got it." "You are mentally unstable. You should rest for a few days." Yuzian couldn't help but take the rope from her hand and said, "You are not allowed to enter the game cabin these days." Sci-fucking fell silent. Because the time of the Great Xia dynasty was approaching the death of Emperor Yin, there was not much time left. On one side is the idol she admires, and on the other side is the person she is planning to chase. How to choose? A very difficult choice. Yuzian called someone and said lightly, "Take him away." A group of mercenaries were all taken away. The Thousand Army Alliance and the Heaven and Earth Alliance also hurried over. Fortunately, this tomb is very well preserved. All we need to do is close the cave entrance. Gu Huiyan breathed a sigh of relief. "Wenjian, please send someone to protect this place." Protect each other. Now, it was their turn to protect Zhang Zheyu. Xiao Wenjian looked serious. "Definitely. The Heaven and Earth Alliance is responsible for repairing the tomb, and the Thousand Army Alliance is responsible for sending troops to protect it." 1500 years later, the three families and the four alliances were originally drifting apart, but this year their relationship has become much closer. Outside, Sci-fucking knelt down on one knee and quietly touched the totem of Zhang Jiajin on the stone. She remembered the first time she and Zhang Zheyu met. Zhang Zheyu said that she is a member of the Zhang family, and it is her belief that the Zhang family guards the country. But there are still some scum who are not worthy of protection, and they are not worthy of Zhang Zheyu fighting for them. Sci-fucking clenched her fists. She was still a little upset and beat the remaining mercenaries violently. Yuzian didn't stop her either. After she finished venting, he suddenly smiled. "What you said just now shows that you are really angry." Sci-fucking was startled. "What are you talking about? I called you." Maybe the answer button was accidentally touched. Yuzian raised his eyebrows. "I've never seen you curse like this before, so I recorded it." Sci-fucking. The society is dead again. Sci-fucking grabbed the phone in his hand. "Delete it. Hurry up. Don't tell anyone else. That's not okay." "Feng-san. Aren't these two elementary school students quarreling?" He is blind. Wow, these anti-fans are so shameless. On the side, Zishang suddenly slapped his thigh. They actually said that Miss Si sucked Zhang Ziyu's blood. Feng San was a little confused. What do you mean? He looked over. The female general who rules the country became a hit, and anti-fans and opponents have long been unable to sit still. There are a lot of comments like this today. I don't understand. I admit that Si fucking's acting is very good, but the person she plays is not herself. I've seen too many celebrities like her who suck the blood of historical figures. To put it bluntly, she just wants to reap the bonuses. Yes, the one who is truly worthy of admiration is Zhang Ziyu, the female general of Zhenqiu, not Si fucking. I don't believe that there are no celebrities who don't fall apart sooner or later. Si fucking will have to collapse. I see where you are crying. Please Si fucking, don't tie up historical heroes with porcelain, and walk independently. Good morning. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 594. Some crazy fans remember to keep their eyes open. The one who protects the country is Zhang Ziyu, the female general of the country, not Si fucking. She is just an actress. If you like Zhang Ziyu, you should like her. Si fucking, don't really think of yourself as Zhang Ziyu, you are still far behind. It does happen that actors suck the blood of historical figures. 8 years ago, an actor played the role of a famous prime minister in the Dezhou dynasty, and successfully won the Grand Slam as the emperor with this role. Subsequently, he continued to use the prime minister for marketing purposes, gaining many fans and great influence. Many people have equated him with historical figures and have a very high filter for him. Even if there is any dirty information, they will ignore it and go to Shidi's Weibo from time to time to call him the prime minister. Until last year, all kinds of negative news about this TV star broke out. His private life was chaotic, he deceived fans, and a series of illegal operations, which completely collapsed. Now many black fans have seized on this and started to attack Si fucking crazily. Feng San finished reading. Although he is said to be working hard to learn all kinds of knowledge in the entertainment industry for Miss Si, after studying for so long, he found that his knowledge is still shallow. He couldn't understand why anyone would think that. Can normal people distinguish historical figures from actors? It doesn't matter what they do. Si Feuding heard this and said lazily, the dregs of society are hidden in the dark ditch, so they can only find their presence online. Leave it to Sister Sang. She has always been giving. I complained that she was too idle. The incompetent rage of the anti-fans also proves that Si fucking is getting more and more angry. There was nothing else they could do but watch her rise to dominate the entire Daxia entertainment industry. As Si fucking expected, Sang Yan saw such overwhelming comments on the internet early in the morning. Still follow the old method, find the black fans who insulted and spread rumors, collect evidence, and appeal. Although he finally had something to do, Sang Yanking still felt a strong sense of emptiness. The artists under him are too strong, which is the invincible loneliness. Out of boredom, Sang Yanking went to Ye Zhenmian's restaurant to learn cooking skills. This time she came to Changpingshan in the west of China on an impromptu trip. Si fucking didn't ask for leave from Chu Lingyun, and she didn't take any rest either and rushed back to the crew immediately. The mercenary gang that robbed the tomb has been locked up by the Thousand Army Alliance and is being interrogated severely. Yu Zian sat in the upper seat, with his eyes lowered, neither happy nor angry, not even the slightest emotional fluctuation. But the mercenaries all felt an extremely powerful sense of oppression enveloping them. They couldn't even lift their heads and their bodies were shaking constantly. The young man who had been under Si fucking's previous care was still in a severe coma. Sir, please have mercy. Your Majesty, please have mercy. We are just a group of desperados. We will work hard for whoever gives us money. The mercenaries kowtowed crazily and begged for mercy. We don't know who the other party is. They only give us money. We sent a courier, and there were tools and cash in the courier. We didn't even know who sent the courier, sir, you're aware of this. Uzion didn't show any pity. He knocked on the table lightly and said calmly, let's see if what they said is true. Xiao Wenjian responded and immediately asked the guards to bring up a piece of equipment. Today's science and technology are very advanced, and lie detectors have also reached extremely high testing standards. After some testing, Xiao Wenjian confirmed that these mercenaries were not lying. The mercenaries breathed a sigh of relief. One of the young men begged, sir, we really don't know who issued the mission. It's useless even if you kill us. How arrogant they were before, how much they wanted to make a fortune by emptying Zhang Ziyu's tomb, but now they regret it so much. What they couldn't understand the most was that there was no one on Changping Mountain, and the border guards were also on the border. Changping Mountain's special magnetic field naturally blocks satellite signals, and they even avoided drone inspections. Why were they discovered so quickly? Oh, Uzion finally smiled and said lightly, then kill him. The expressions of the mercenaries changed drastically, and their faces turned extremely pale. Sir. They didn't succeed at all in the end, and they all told the truth. Why did they want to kill them? Uzion said nothing, but Xiao Wenjian already understood what he meant. He dismissed the guards and went to the treasure house to get the dragon bird sword. 1500 years later, the dragon bird sword was used again. There was still no one alive under the sword, and not a drop of blood stained the blade. Xiao Wenjian's expression was slightly stern, and his heart was shocked. Emperor Yin was criticized a lot for his cruelty in dealing with enemies. He was never a person who used softness to overcome toughness. He is ruthless, he is cruel, he is cold-blooded, and he kills to stop killing. But he never showed his emotions, which made people feel even more terrifying. But only firmness could shake Daxia at that time. Xiao Wenjian wiped his sweat, and for a moment he admired the first leader of the Thousand Army Alliance even more. If he is asked to work under Emperor Yin, whether he can hold on is a question. Xiao Wenjian said tentatively, Your Majesty must have watched Miss Zaya grow up. Uzion was silent for a long time. Yes, when she was born, I went to the general's mansion to see her. Even he never thought that Zhang Ziyu would choose to be buried in Changping Mountain. He also couldn't bear that such a female general would not have peace after death, not to mention that it was still the dragon's veins, the life gate of Daxia. Go check the courier information, Uzion said, send another person to several other dragon veins. Don't worry about Tianshan Mountain in Zhongzhou. We are protected by the Mo family. Xiao Wenjian said respectfully, Yes, Your Majesty, do you want it? Uzion placed the dragon bird sword on the table, and said with a faint smile in her cold voice, pick up the little girl. Xiao Wenjian recalled how Sci-fi beat the group of tomb robbers so violently when they arrived in Zizhu that his teeth hurt. I am afraid that only His Majesty Emperor Yin can bear Miss C's temper. In the garage of Qinjunmen, Uzion got into the car. There was no one around. Uzion pressed the record button, and the girl's angry words rang in his ears. He listened to Sci-fi's words again. It was indeed a pleasure to hear her curse, he wasn't lying about that. But this time, when he heard the key age of 6 years old, Uzion's eyes suddenly moved and became a little more serious. When Zhang Ziyu was 6 years old, Zhang Haiping died in battle. In order to hide this from Zhang Ziyu, Mrs. Zhang and Zhang Suanjin did not say why Zhang Haiping did not come back. He also went to the general's mansion at that time, and Zhang Ziyu was still innocent. How could it be 6 years old? There is no detail on this in the history books. Uzion's eyes were dark. He knocked on the steering wheel, started the car, and went to Light Crew. The crew of Light Sci-fi had been filming for 4 hours continuously. The sun had already set, but Chu Lingyun was the first to call cut and let everyone rest. Director QUSI fucking said while wiping his sweat with a towel, I will take a leave of absence in a few days to accompany my brother to participate in an important assessment. In 3 days, I promise not to let the progress fall behind. Chu Lingyun sighed, you are really busy. Where were you this morning? Si fucking exclaimed, I'm going to beat up the tomb robbers. Chu Lingyun. Zhang Ziyu's tomb was discovered. Si fucking briefly told the story, I couldn't control my temper and vented my anger. Chu Lingyun was instantly furious, well done, this kind of person deserves to die. He doesn't even have any humanity left. After scolding, he softened his tone and said, the filming is over today. You have a good rest. Our progress is very normal. We will finish the filming before the end of the year. Only in this way can we be in time for next year's Grain Award selection. Si fucking nodded, okay. The post-production staff of the crew began to edit today's video. Chu Lingyun sat in front of the computer, rarely checking the information about the female general of the kingdom on Weibo. He finished watching 4 episodes in a row, feeling extremely itchy. He also wanted to see some outtakes and other materials, but he couldn't get enough. After watching 4 episodes, the crew is hungry and hungry. It is recommended that the crew complete the updates in 1 day, and I can watch the updates without sleeping. 4 episodes a week, are the crew still human? Chu Lingyun thought for a moment and retweeted the official Weibo of the crew of the heroine of the kingdom with 2 words. Urgent update. Outside the set, Si fucking got into the car and stretched, today's task is completed. Come on, let's go to dinner. Yu Zian looked at her who had regained her energy again, her eyes darkened a little, well, let's go home first. After eating, Yu Zian took the rope and lay down in the game cabin. Things in eternity can be taken out, and naturally they can also be sent back. Si fucking opened the cabin door and blinked, brother Ninth, what is your ID? Yu Zian raised his eyebrows, where's the girl? Don't you know that I am a heavenly doctor with ghost hands? You also know that I have the keys to the 8 major mineral veins. Evened out. Si fucking said angrily, ignore you. She closed the cabin door with a bang, leaned against the game cabin, and took out her cell phone. The discovery of Zhang Ziyu's tomb is not a small matter. A few minutes ago, after setting up all protective measures, the TND Alliance posted on Weibo. At TND Alliance V, the tomb of Zhang Ziyu, the female general of Zhenqiu, has been discovered and is currently under emergency repair like Zhang Suanjin's tomb. An ancestral hall will be built outside for visits and worship. Wow! I will definitely go to worship her. I read through the biography of Zhang Ziyu yesterday. She is really amazing. Just take me with you, just look outside, don't disturb her. There are still anti-fans jumping out not to be outdone. Can't Si fucking go to pay homage, you have to kneel down and cry bitterly, right? Otherwise it's just a show. Ha ha ha, Si fucking can't suck Zhang Ziyu's blood now. This tomb was discovered just in time. Gu Huiyan didn't want to see his apprentice being scolded. He sneered, took the computer directly from the staff, and posted another message, circled the ID names of several black fans. At Tiandameng V, what, you live by the sea, what does it have to do with you whether to offer sacrifices or not to mention paying homage? Even the tomb was discovered by Miss Si in time, and it was she who knocked down the tomb robber. Without her, you couldn't even see the tomb. Who do you think you are doing this? I'm so sorry, he has never lost when it comes to yin and yang. See you tomorrow. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 595. Gu Huiyan had left the affairs of the Heaven and Earth Alliance to others a few years ago. He had spent most of the past 2 years growing flowers and playing chess, but his temper had not diminished at all. Gu Huiyan didn't know why Si rushed to Changping Mountain in the early morning and accurately found the location of the tomb robbing gang. But no matter what, if she goes one step too late, the consequences will be disastrous. The tomb robber gang was doing evil, and Gu Huiyan was already angry. These anti-fans on the internet who were typing on the keyboard directly hit the muzzle of his gun. When he retorted, several of the top haters shut up instantly. So it's time for the home visit session that netizens love most. But when they clicked on the homepages of these anti-fans, they found that the anti-fans had cancelled their accounts as quickly as possible and ran away. We sincerely invite everyone to watch the latest face-slapping scene. I feel so happy again. Who is the master responsible for the Weibo operation of TND League? He's literally my internet replacement. Damn it, Si beat away all the tomb robbers, so brave. I now feel that she absolutely loves Zhang Ziyu. It is impossible to have such deep feelings without truly understanding her. Grave robbing gangs are desperados, and their methods are endless. Si was still filming, and her hands and face were extremely important, but she still went without any hesitation. Why don't the anti-fans have a longer memory and insist on slapping them in the face again and again? Do you have cognitive dysfunction? Are Si and Zhang Ziyu indistinguishable? Ching Ching had already said during the road show that she wanted to let more people know about this period of history. Her own thoughts are dirty, and others are also dirty. Gu Huiyan defeated the anti-fans by himself. Hiding his merit and fame, he posted a new like-collecting advertisement in WeChat Moments. This time it was roast duck. This side of Sijukan. An hour later, Yu Ziyan came out of the game cabin. Si looked at his empty hands. Brother Ninth, where is the rope? Yu Ziyan said lightly, throw it into Tianke. Tianke belongs to the top 10 dangerous places together with Gigo, Endless Sea, and Yunmen's. It is said that the water in Tianke can transform everything. Even the hardest ore will instantly turn into nothingness if it falls into Tianke. No one dared to stay at the edge of Tianke for one more second. Si frowned and looked him up and down. You're not hurt, are you? Yu Ziyan was slightly startled. He has been a human being for 2 lifetimes, and injuries are common. But she would immediately ask him if he was injured. How could he not be moved by her? Yu Ziyan hummed and chuckled, do you want to check it out? No, you can't say that. You must be trying to trick me again. Si hugged the pillow tightly, it seems you are not injured. I'm going to bed first. I have to get up early tomorrow to film. She ran away quickly. After returning to the room, Si immediately took out the book she bought. Hateful. It must be that she hasn't learned all the heart of love, so she can't dominate when facing enemies. She wanted to speed up her learning process and overwhelm him in one fell swoop. The next day, the crew of Light. This is Huo Yangxing's first time filming, but he is very serious. He held the script, frowned and discussed with Chu Lingyun. I think a passionate scene should be added here. Chu Lingyun, we are doing serious work. Oh, Huo Yangxing didn't say anything more, but his expression was a little regretful. He also does a serious job, but he loses his innocence while working. During a break in filming, Huo Yangxing received a call. Someone seemed to be crying on the other side of the phone. He frowned and listened for 3 seconds before hanging up. Yu Ziyan has very good ears and can hear clearly. What's wrong? Huo Yangxing looked coldly. That aunt at home is getting into trouble again, so don't worry about it. Si raised his head. Auntie? Huo Shiyun. Hearing Si say the name accurately, Huo Yangxing was slightly surprised. He nodded and said, it's her. She wants the Intercontinental Research Institute to make a set of armor for her so that she can have it in a short time, the ability of an evolver. Si raised an eyebrow. You have a big appetite. The Intercontinental Research Institute has indeed developed such a battle armor, but those who can use it must obtain permission from several major forces in Free Continent. The reason why she was impressed by Huo Shiyun was that Huo Shiyun was an ordinary person without the ability to evolve. But Huo Shiyun's parents are both transcendent grade evolutionaries. The probability of a high-level evolver giving birth to an ordinary person who doesn't even have the ability to be an evolver is indeed not small. But with the capabilities of the Huo family in the free state, they have certain skills that can minimize the probability. Unexpectedly, an ordinary person with no bloodline, not even D-class, would appear. The Huo family has a great business, and Huo Shiyun is the sister of the head of the Huo family. Of course, it is impossible to expel her. Having one more person is nothing to the Huo family. But Huo Shiyun has always been very dissatisfied and wanted to have higher strength. She pestered the Huo family leader many times and asked him to go to the Intercontinental Research Institute to help her get the permission to use the armor. Her request was so unreasonable that even the head of the Huo family was angry this time. Huo Yangxing was non-committal. It has nothing to do with me. Let her make trouble. I'm not her mother. I fucking didn't care about the other members of the Huo family. She said lazily, I'm going to Free Continent in 2 days. I'd like to ask Mr. Huo to take care of them. Easy to say. Huo Yangxing glanced at Si fucking calmly. He decided to change the direction of his attack and wanted to deal with Yu Jian's sister first. 2 days later, Free Continent. This time he came from Free Continent to send Nian Yian to Eternal College as his parent, and Si fucking didn't make any pretense. After all, this most superficial interpersonal relationship can be found with a quick search. Eternal College arranged a hotel for Nian Yian and specially reserved the presidential suite. Si fucking took a few photos and sent them to the Yin family group with text. The hotel booked by the inner courtyard for brother Yin. If you don't show off and irritate people now, when will you wait? Nian Yin lay on the sofa and muttered, it's no different from home. Yin has made a career. Yin Yaonian was very pleased. You can realize the dream that dad could not complete back then. As he said that, he still looked a little lonely. When he was forced to leave the Yin family, he was not yet 20 years old. It was a time of high spirits, but he had to embark on the road to escape. Yin Yaonian clenched his fists. Even if he dies, he must make those people pay the price. I'm going to the Intercontinental Research Institute. Si fucking waved his hand, Uncle, you don't have to wait for me, I'm eating out with my friends. Yin Yaonian nodded, be careful on the road and contact your uncle anytime if you have anything. On the other side, Lu Xingkai and Zuru Yuan also arrived at the Intercontinental Research Institute. Professor Zhu, wait for me here. Lu Xingkai said, I'm going to find my master. He must be sleeping at this time. Just wait, I'll take a picture of him. Seeing Lu Xingkai leaving in a hurry, Zuru Yuan said. Ah, the geniuses at the Intercontinental Research Institute are very different. As Lu Xingkai expected, his master Honiton Robertson was still sleeping in. Old man, get up. Lu Xingkai patted his teacher's face, the sun is shining on your butt, and your laboratory was burned down. What? Honiton suddenly woke up from his sweet dream and jumped up, go put out the fire quickly, my babies are all in there. Lu Xingkai grinned, it's okay, you are dreaming. Honiton. His fingers were trembling with anger, boy, you have the guts. Master, I really have something to do. Lu Xingkai said eagerly, I'm going to the research institute to do experiments. I'm waiting for you to open the door for me to get the resources. The experimental registration and research team candidates have been reported. Honiton is an S-level researcher and can obtain more resources. Of course he wanted to drag his master out. Okay, the sun has come out from the west, and you actually want to open a business. Honiton adjusted his clothes, Master, I will accompany you for a trip. Is there still a shortage of people in the research team? I have recently found a few people. A good seedling. Although he is not as smart as you, he can still kill him. Lu Xingkai did not refuse immediately, I want to ask Sister Ching Ching. Honiton snorted coldly, I have never seen you so humble in front of me, master. He picked up his ID and keys and followed Lu Xingkai. Zuru Yuan was standing in front of the office building of the Intercontinental Research Institute, looking at the statue on the right in a daze. As soon as Yin Yongzi came in, she saw this scene. She wanted to pass by, but she saw Zuru Yuan's face. Yin Yongzi still remembered this face. She frowned and said in a condescending manner, I remember that I have screened you out. Who asked you to come here? When Zuru Yuan came to the Intercontinental Research Institute for the first time, she was a little cautious. Now that he heard what Yin Yongzi said, he couldn't help but be stunned. Yin Yongzi glanced at her lightly and said calmly, you'd better leave here on your own before I get angry. She will not let Zuru Yuan have a place in the Intercontinental Research Institute, let alone let Zuru Yuan learn any skills. After Zuru Yuan was stunned, she calmed down, I'm sorry, miss, I don't want to join your research institute. Someone else invited me. Please don't be sentimental. Yin Yongzi paused and laughed angrily, what did you say? It is true that the tenured honorary professors of Xiamen University also have an absolutely lofty status in the entire world, but they are nothing in a free continent. The A-level researchers at the Intercontinental Research Institute have their eyes set on the top, so they would invite someone who is not a native of free continent. I don't remember to draft before I talk big. You don't have to say such things to provoke me for your own sake. It's impossible for anyone to invite you to join the research team. Yin Yongzi smiled slightly, with sarcasm in his words, you probably don't know that only A-level researchers can form a research team, right? Which A-level researcher do you know? She didn't want to hear Zuru Yuan's second words at all, so she raised her hand and said coldly, guard, check her pass to see if she smuggled into the free continent. Good morning. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 596. Entry into and out of free continent is very strict, and even members of the four major families have to check their identity information and passes every time. The permanent pass is jointly issued by the Holy Light Judgment and the heads of the four major families in the Free State. Only outsiders who have made great contributions in the Free State can possess it. There is only one quota per year. Naturally, Yin Yongzi knew clearly that Zuru Yuan had a temporary pass, otherwise Zuru Yuan would not be able to enter the four entrances of Free Continent, let alone come to the Intercontinental Research Institute. Trespassing will only lead to merciless fire from the cavalry. She was just taking advantage of the situation to oppress others. She is of great significance to the Intercontinental Research Institute and is likely to completely change the entire cell theory and the research on various genetic viruses in the future. It is not comparable to that of a Xia University professor. Zuru Yuan originally had a bad temper, otherwise she would not have been called the extinct master by the students. She sneered and looked directly at Yin Yongzi without any fear, Miss, I advise you to go see a doctor if you are sick. Stop pretending to be crazy and embarrassing yourself. I don't know you, and I don't want to know you. Excuse me, what right do you have to ask the guards to check my pass? Are you provoking the cavalry guarding the gate of Free Continent? I heard that these cavalry are directly under the Holy Light Judgment, so you are questioning the authority of the Holy Light Judgment. After these words came out, the guards who had originally followed Yin Yongzi's words and were about to step forward involuntarily stopped, with cold sweat breaking out on their foreheads. That is the Holy Light Judgment Office. As long as the Lord on the top of the clouds does not come out, there is no other person who can compete with the head of the Holy Light Judgment Office. Yin Yongzi never expected that Zuru Yuan would be so sharp-tongued, and she was so angry that her whole body trembled. You are brave. She is indeed unable to get in touch with the Holy Light Judgment now. After all, she is still a freshman at Eternal College. Evolutionaries who have not been trained by the Eternal Academy are treated completely differently in the Free State. The Eternal Academy can completely improve the strength of a B-level evolver to the same level as an A-level evolver. After she successfully graduates from the Eternal Academy, with her unique ability as an evolver, the Holy Light Judgment will also have to hire her. What is Zuru Yuan trying to do with her? There were many people coming in and out of the door of the Intercontinental Research Institute, and they all cast curious glances. Just when Yin Yongzi couldn't bear it anymore and was about to explode, suddenly, someone shouted, "Isn't that young Master Lu?" "Yes, it's young Master Lu and his master. Professor Honiton loves young Master Lu. Just now, the Dean of the Academy of Astronomy went to see him but was rejected. No, young Master Lu is a child prodigy who is expected to be promoted to S-class researcher before the age of 20. Professor Honiton wants to pass on his mantle to him. Sigh, if you want to be a true genius, that one, what a pity, God is jealous of the beauty. If that one was still here, the anti-gravity invincible armor would not be a scrap." Everyone was sighing. Yin Yongzi's expression moved slightly as he heard this. She has the best relationship with the Dean of the School of Biology, and has heard the Dean of the School of Biology mention this legendary S-class researcher many times. After she entered the Intercontinental Research Institute, the explosion that shook the entire free continent had already occurred. In the end, it was determined by the Holy Light Judgment Office that it was an accident caused by a nuclear energy leak. But some people speculate that the Revenge Organization is responsible, but this is just a guess. 4 years have passed since the explosion, and many things are no longer known. Seeing Honiton walking over, Yin Yongzi no longer looked at Zuru Yuan. She said with great respect, "Hello, Professor Honiton, I had the honor to attend your seminar last month." Honiton waved his hand. Except for Lu Xingkai, he never remembered people very much. Yin Yongzi was a little embarrassed. She pursed her lower lip. She didn't want to stick to her cold face and prepare to go to the laboratory to prepare experiments. "Best wishes," Teacher Lu Xing said with a smile, "this is my master. Although my master is very fierce, he is very knowledgeable. If there is anything I don't know, you can ask him then." Honiton specializes in the 2 fields of biochemistry and quantum physics. He ranks among the top 10 in the entire Intercontinental Research Institute and has a high status. Zuru Yuan had also heard of his name. She perked up and stretched out her hand. "Hello, Professor Huo." Honiton naturally wanted to give face to his apprentice. He looked kindly and said, "Ms. Zhu, I am an evil disciple with an unpleasant temperament. Please be more considerate of me in the research team in the future." Zuru Yuan was flattered. Professor Huo is too polite. This conversation clearly reached Yin Yongzi's ears. She paused in her steps, turned around suddenly, and looked at Zuru Yuan shaking hands with Honiton, a little surprised. Zuru Yuan said that someone invited her to form a research team. Was it Lu Xingkai? Are you kidding me? Lu Xing was used to doing his own thing, and because of his young age, the dean and professors were also used to his temper. He has not joined any research team for a year, so why did he suddenly form a research team and invite an outsider, Zuru Yuan? Are you crazy? At this time, Lu Xingkai's eyes lit up as he didn't know what he saw. He jumped up and waved happily, "Sister Ching Ching." Hearing this call, Yin Yongzi couldn't help but feel confused. In this generation of the Lu family, Lu Xingkai only has 2 sons. The youngest son Lu Xingkai is a key protected target of the Intercontinental Research Institute. There are too few prodigies who have won the first place in the international joint examination at the age of 7. The eldest son Lu Xingheng was born a few years ago, and his medical skills are superb. But Yin Yongzi didn't take Lu Xingheng to heart. No matter how advanced medical skills are, it is impossible to directly target cells, genes, and viruses like her. Only the heavenly doctor with ghost hands can convince her, but she believes that she can surpass the heavenly doctor with ghost hands and become the first. Yin Yongzi looked in the direction of Lu Xingkai's beckoning, and her eyes suddenly widened. It was as if a giant hammer hit her head. Something exploded, then shook violently, and everything went blank for an instant. Why is SI fucking here too? Why did Lu Xingkai call SI fucking? Sister Ching Ching, this is your first time meeting my master, Lu Xingkai said, let me introduce him to you. SI fucking nodded and smiled, hello, Professor Honitan. Seeing Lu Xingkai's very bad attitude, Honitan's eyes also lit up, Miss SI, I will trouble you to deal with this kid more in the future. He could be regarded as someone who could cure Lu Xingkai. SI fucking raised his eyebrows, definitely. Lu Xingkai grimaced. And here, Yin Yongzi finally found her voice, is it you? Did you invite me? SI fucking also discovered Yin Yongzi's existence. She squinted her eyes and understood what had happened before. I invited you, do you have any opinions? SI fucking clapped her hands, I was still thinking about who drove away Teacher Zhu, but it turned out to be you. If you keep chasing and jumping, I'll count on you if you can chase him away. Lose. Both Honitan and Lu Xingkai are celebrities at the Intercontinental Research Institute, and more people are watching. These scrutinizing glances made Yin Yongzi tortured, and her face turned livid. SI fucking, what do you mean? Are you deliberately going against me? Don't forget that you are also a member of the Yin family. What she couldn't understand even more was how could SI fucking have such a good relationship with Lu Xingkai that Lu Xingkai took the initiative to form a research team. SI fucking ignored Yin Yongzi. She took out her cell phone unhurriedly and spoke to the other end of the phone very calmly, hey, uncle, someone wants to bully me. The location is at the Intercontinental Research Institute. You said you would come over right away? Okay, no problem. When he heard that Yin Yaonian was coming, Yin Yongzi's body swayed. She looked pale and could barely smile, I didn't mean that. I was just worried that the Institute's secrets would be leaked, so I was more vigilant. Fu Qing, you may not know that something like this happened last year. The Institute's secrets were taken away by a revenge organization. Yin Yaonian's methods were so direct and violent that she didn't want to try it a second time. Okay, I don't have time to talk to you. SI fucking finally raised his eyes, don't mess with me. I can see your little thoughts clearly. You have only lived for more than 20 years and you think you are a 1,000-year-old fox already. It's not as good as the dog Pixio who can act. SI fucking rubbed Xiaobai, who was sleeping in his pocket, and lazily straightened up, let's go. The crowd dispersed. Yin Yongzi still stood on the same spot, stunned and did not come back to his senses. She was trembling all over, and even the blood on her lips had completely disappeared. She was angry and humiliated. The head guard opened his mouth, Miss, let's go. Yin Yongzi tried her best to calm down and sneered, she has just entered the free continent and there are still many rules to learn. I just need to wait. This is Freeland. A continent of freedom, chaos, and disorder. A world where onmyoges, evolvers, high-tech geniuses, and madmen are everywhere. SI fucking might offend some important person on any given day, and Lu Xingkai couldn't protect him. She's waiting. The captain of the guard had been following Yin Yongzi, so he naturally favored her and smiled, no matter what, she can't compare with the eldest lady. The eldest lady has a good rest. She has to go to see Mrs. Huo tomorrow, so we can't delay it. Yin Yongzi nodded lightly. She has already come into contact with the 4 major families in Free Continent, but SI fucking is nothing. On the other side, the Huo family. Huo Yangxing went home to get the documents. As soon as he entered the door, he heard crying. Brother, do you think it's because I don't want to be an evolver? I think so too. Can you go to the Intercontinental Research Institute and get the armor for me? Our family doesn't lack those things, brother. Huo Yangxing stood at the door expressionlessly for 5 minutes. When the crying disappeared, he took a step forward. The hall was a mess, There were fragments of vases on the floor, and the servants were cleaning it. There was a middle-aged man sitting on the sofa with an extremely ugly face. Huo Yangxing nodded. "Dad. We're back from the banquet." Seeing him, Patriarch Huo's brows relaxed. "Would you like to have dinner together later?" "Is she making trouble again?" Huo Yangxing did not answer directly and sat down on the side. "Seriously, Dad, she doesn't have any evolutionary blood. Have you really not considered other possibilities?" The head of the Huo family sneered. "I have thought about it a long time ago." They had doubts at first that Huo Shiyun was not of the Huo family. But after several appraisals, it was still the certificate issued by the Intercontinental Research Institute, so there was no reason to doubt it anymore. "I can only accept my fate." But Huo Shiyun did not accept the reality. She only wanted to become an evolver through acquired transformation, and even wanted to give away the Huo family's heirlooms. The head of the Huo family couldn't bear it anymore. Huo Yangxing nodded. He had no intention of caring about Huo Shiyun's affairs. He took out a bag of tea leaves that Sci-fi gave him and made a cup of tea. "The aroma is tangy." The head of the Huo family, who was about to go upstairs, stopped and turned around suddenly. "Thank you all for your votes and rewards, and thank you for supporting Ching Ching and your Majesty. Suddenly I remembered that Liberty Continent was based on Liberty City when I was watching Out of Control Player last year. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 597. The fragrance of this tea is light and makes the pores all over the body relax. The head of the Huo family felt refreshed and his body became much lighter. He could even clearly feel that his evolver energy was speeding up at this moment. Evolvers have exclusive food, drinks, medicinal materials, etc., and the Huo family is one of the 4 major families in Free Continent. The head of the Huo family is naturally very sensitive to these. The head of the Huo family immediately returned to the sofa, pressed Huo Yangxing's shoulders violently, and said anxiously, "Where did you get this tea? Tell me quickly." Huo Yangxing was stunned for a moment, but he quickly and calmly replied to the Huo family head with the reason Sci-fi gave him, "I picked it up on the Eternal Continent." After saying it, his face was expressionless. Would anyone really believe such a reason? Sometimes it was really difficult to communicate with this Miss Si. He had to admire Shi Yan. Eternal Continent, Patriarch Huo slapped him on the back excitedly, almost causing Huo Yangxing to vomit blood. "What a good boy, you are so lucky." Huo Yangxing, "Dad, do you believe it?" "Nonsense, I only drank this cup of tea in the Eternal Continent." The Huo family leader slowly exhaled and sighed. "It's a shame that I didn't know that the tea shop at that time was opened by Senior Ghost Hand Heavenly Doctor. Wait for my reaction when I came here and turned back, it was gone." The more he spoke, the more regretful he became. "If I could have a few more drinks, maybe my bloodline could be promoted accordingly." This happened 7 or 8 years ago. At this time, Yu Zian went to the Eternal Continent to practice as usual. He felt thirsty on the way, so he carefully went to a tea shop in the wild and ordered a cup of tea, which cost a sky-high price. After drinking it, I was going to report the tea shop owner for asking for an exorbitant price. When I came here, I was told that I knew the goods. I drank the tea made by the Ghost Hand Doctor himself. The news that the Ghost Hand Heavenly Doctor has opened a tea shop has just been revealed outside the player forum, but the place where he opens the shop is different, and the appearance is also different every time. This triggered a frenzy to search for the Ghost Hand Heavenly Doctor. It is said that in the past few months, the income of every tea shop in the Eternal Continent has increased several times, and the NPC who opened the tea shop scolded us behind our backs for being stupid. Chuzai looked serious. "Heavenly Doctor with ghost hands. Who else can make such tea except the ghost hand heavenly doctor? Yu Xian said, that tea has very little benefit to the degenerated people. It cannot relax the muscles and bones, activate blood circulation and remove blood stasis. You are the only one who has drank that kind of tea under the Eternal Continent. That tea has also been double judged by the Intercontinental Research Institute and the Eternal Academy, proving that the ghost hand heavenly medicine is so weak that it cannot even change the blood of the person. It is recognized that there are only two people in Free Continent who can change the bloodline of degenerates. One is the Lord of the top of the clouds, and the seventh is the head of the Holy Light Judgment Office. The heavenly doctor with ghost hands is the eighth person. But the heavenly doctor with ghost hands is too mysterious. Even now, some people know whether he is a woman or a man, old or young. Yu Xian suddenly patted Lu Xingkai's shoulder again. Young man, you are really lucky. You see, although the tea is as pure as the cup you drank back then, it is definitely the medicine of magic. Maid, where did he pick it up? Qiu Xiu pursed his upper lip and carefully reported the coordinates. I picked it up on the road in Yeli. It's the style of the heavenly doctor with ghost hands. Yu Xian nodded repeatedly. I coughed and said majestically, the banquet, that tea. Lu Xingkai pinched his eyebrows and had no choice but to pass the tea Huo Yangxing gave me to Yu Xian. Yu Xian smiled happily. After the banquet, if he goes to squat again, he must have picked it up again. You can give the tea to his grandma to drink. Lu Xingkai sighed. How is grandma's health? It can barely be maintained, but there are ways to eradicate it. Yu Xian shook his head. I asked the eldest sister of the Yin family to take a look at his grandma tomorrow. I guess there will be little hope after your abilities deteriorate. Lu Xingkai came up silently. You had his aunt locked up so that you could make trouble in front of his grandma again. Qiu Xiu picked up the tea bag and said in a warmer tone, you are really too confused. Qiu Xiu also stood up. You will be back in the evening. You go inside to eat. Yu Xian got the tea, stayed with me again, and waved her hand. Qiu Xiu left Huo's house and took a few detours as usual before hiding outside an alley and dialing Lu Xinggen's phone number. As soon as the call was connected, I raised my voice and said angrily, he told you that his girl is a heavenly doctor with ghost hands, and your father took away all the tea you gave you. If I had known how valuable the tea Huo Yangxing gave me, I would have made tea after Yu Xian met. Oh, Qiu Xiu didn't mean anything, and raised his eyebrows slightly. Did you tell him yourself? He said you gave him tea. Lu Xingkai paused. How could you tell you such an important thing? Many people in Free Continent are looking for a heavenly doctor with ghost hands. A medicine refined by the ghost hand heavenly doctor can be sold for a sky-high price in the Eternal Continent. Qiu Xiu said in a calm voice, that means you regard him as one of your own. Lu Xingkai thought, does this mean you can't? Lu Xingheng did not hit me, but smiled, wish him good luck. Lu Xingkai also had the nerve to ask Huo Yangxing for a whole box of tea. I decided to stop drinking a few cups when filming with the crew. But that box of tea was priceless. Lu Xingkai thought for a moment and decided to take a walk outside Yu Xian's treasure house. Lu Xingkai told Lu Xingheng that he was going to meet me for dinner tonight, and then started talking on the phone. Lu Xingheng lowered his eyelashes and clicked on Huo Yangxing's profile picture. Your avatar is very complicated. It is a pixie holding gold and chewing it. There are no 7 words on the right and left, Gong 11 Fa Cai and recruiting wealth and returning treasures. Why did you think of giving Lu Xing his tea? A few seconds ago, a reply popped up. Because I am fourth brother's good brother and he can trust me, this means there is no problem? Lu Xingheng raised his eyebrows. I really couldn't bear to tell Qiu Xiu whether my revolution had succeeded or not. Over there at the Intercontinental Research Institute. Without Professor Hanatan, the research team's qualifications were slowly approved, and they also received the smallest amount of financial support. The person in charge of the management office placed the 2 documents in front of Huo Yangxing and Zuru Yuan respectively, and said calmly, It's the first time they quit the research team and they need to take the assessment. It doesn't matter if they pass it, but if they pass the first, many experimental projects have been completed, and they have no merits or titles. The Intercontinental Research Institute is a very pure place, so pure that only profit remains. It is true that there are no people who have dedicated themselves to science like Professor Hanatan and the Dean of the Institute of Mechanical Engineering, but they have lived too many lives. Once a researcher becomes useless, he or she will be drained of the last bit of profit and discarded immediately. A secret experiment last year directly killed 72 researchers, and was eventually suppressed by the Intercontinental Research Institute. All residents of Free Continent know about it. Chiu Zai's eyebrows were light, and he opened the file. You just browsed it once and then finished writing. Your speed in solving questions has always been very slow, but there is nothing messy about it, giving people a very calm feeling. Half an hour ago, you stopped writing and handed in your paper. The person in charge was not surprised. That paper was of a long-term format, and the questions were limited to the field of biochemistry. The difficulty was much lower than that of the International Joint Examination, but no one could do it so slowly. Another 17 minutes later, Zuru Yuan also handed in the paper. The person in charge put away the two papers and took out the key. Their laboratory is on the left, A09. The head of the Huo family took the key and walked behind with his head shaking. Huo Yangxing thought for a moment and contacted Yin Yongzi, who was still in 11 Xiaolu. Is his medical skill recognized as weak in the Free State? Yin Yongzi didn't have a good premonition. Not yet. What does he want to do? Very good. Chiu Zai looked happy. From now on, you are no longer his apprentice. Yin Yongzi. The head of the Huo family was also shocked. Sister Qing Qing, with his medical skills, why do you want to be the apprentice of that scumbag brother of yours? You can't avoid unnecessary trouble, Chiu Zai said lightly. He is still old and knows the dangers of society. The enemy is hiding in the dark, and if you are too sharp, sooner or later you will be like you in the next life. Oh, you understand. Chiu Zai suddenly became excited. The black sheep is not a shield. Sister Qing Qing, he is good. Yin Yongzi. A few seconds ago, I said hastily, does he still need a younger brother? Give him one. Yes, Chiu Zai agreed enthusiastically. You don't have two younger brothers to support. The head of the Huo family felt aggrieved. Suddenly I seemed to remember something, and said in a low voice, you can be cute if we don't have one. Dabai looked at me with disgust, raised a paw and slapped my face. Don't think about competing with it for the dog owner. That slap was just a threat. After all, Dabai was only as big as a slap and had little power. The head of the Huo family bared his teeth, and I rubbed my face and muttered, you can't just change your last name to Si. Over there, the person in charge of the management office handed two papers to the Biochemical Institute. Before the results of the two people are released, they will be passed to the Dean of the Institute of Biochemistry. At that moment there was a knock on the door of the Dean's office. Yun 11, the Dean of the Institute of Biochemistry looked up and smiled. Back off slowly. Si fucking backed away. Dean. You glanced at it and saw the name under the computer screen, and let out a sigh. The Dean of the Institute of Biochemistry laughed again. You were number one in this international joint examination, but you chose to withdraw from the Intercontinental Institute and lost 7 months. That's fine. Si fucking smiled animatedly. Dean, you are your sister. Are you also from the Yin family? The Dean of the School of Biochemistry was not surprised. How did you know him during the interview for the International Joint Entrance Examination? Si fucking smiled faintly. There are only a few members of the Yin family, and you know everyone, not to mention you have a lot of blood. The Dean of the Institute of Biology nodded, understanding. I see, this is really a pity. You said, opening the sealed file. Chiu Zai made some moves. You also want to see how many points Huo Yangxing can get in the exam. Huo Yangxing should be told that free continent is a place where anyone can stay. Good morning. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 598. The Dean of the Institute of Biochemistry opened the sealed bag. Zuru Yuan's paper is in front. The test paper is based on a 100-point system, and Zuru Yuan scored 72 points. This score is considered high among all outsiders at the Intercontinental Institute. The Dean of the Biochemical Institute suddenly frowned. Yun 11, I remember this name. She seems to have been assigned to your group. Why did she go to another group? Yin Yungzi's heart tightened, but her face did not show any change. She is not suitable. It's up to you to decide on your research team. The Dean of the Institute of Biochemistry didn't say any more, picked up Sci-fi's paper and said involuntarily. She sighed repeatedly, as expected of being number 1 in the international joint examination. I was able to score 80 points. It's amazing. Yin Yungzi also saw 82 on the paper, and her calm expression changed instantly. She took the preparatory class at the Intercontinental Institute and got a score of 77. Sci-fi has never been to free continent. How could he get higher than her in the exam? The Dean of the Institute of Biochemistry began to carefully check Sci-fi's scores for each question, but unfortunately could not find any points that could be added. A score of 85 is a watershed. If Sci-fi reaches 85, she will definitely report to the Institute's committee. It's a pity, just 3 points behind. When she saw the score for the last question, Yin Yungzi could no longer hold on to her smile. She joined the research team the year before last and naturally participated in the assessment. The difficulty of the assessment is the same every year. If Sci-fi only scored 82 points, you would care too much, but the Huo family leader only scored 1 point lower than you in every question. Is that really a deliberate attempt to ridicule and humiliate you? The Dean of the Institute of Biochemistry also discovered the pattern and was a little surprised. Yun 11, no wonder you are both from the Yin family. There is a slight difference in their levels. You are just a little lower than him. You have less time to study. Jia Shenrui pinched her palms and smiled slightly. With or without the blood of a degenerate, naturally you can only put less effort into other fields. The Yin family has a genius. The Dean of the Institute of Biochemistry nodded and said, that's our researcher certificate. He should send it over. Sci-fi simply wanted to go. But before we get to that point, you have to accept the researcher certificates from Jia Shenrui and Huo Tianwen, and you are very willing to be an errand boy. Seeing Jia Shenrui take the institute certificate, Sci-fi finally held back and blurted out, he did it on purpose. Oh, Patriarch Huo raised his eyebrows, and clapped his hands tightly or quickly. He discovered it. What the hell? Sci-fi's chest heaved with anger, and you laughed warmly. He can just blow it as hard as he can. You might as well tell him that the losses caused by his father and uncle to the Yin family can be made up and reversed. He wants to be the heir of the Yin family, but he's far from it. Then let him worry about it, the Huo family leader said calmly. If he messes with you more, that's the first advice you give him. Sci-fi glanced at the Huo family head's mobile phone without fear. You are afraid of the Huo family, but you are afraid that the Huo family will call Yin Yaonian and Nianyin. You can only rely on others. Jia Shenrui did not think that the Huo family leader had deliberately obtained that score. It's just a coincidence. How is it possible that no one can even control the scores of the papers used for researcher assessment? But it's like a slap on your face, making you take a breath. Sci-fi pursed her lips and left with a livid face. In the laboratory, Jia Shenrui stuffed her researcher ID card out of her pocket. Have you ever thought that after so many years, the assessment papers are still the same as those used back then? What's the point? Huo Tianwen was curious. Why are you so angry? You're going to explode. Oh, the head of the Huo family said, I'm ashamed. It was Daxon who gave you a point on every question. Huo Tianwen. Ashamed of him. At the same time, the Huo family was in the opposite direction to the Intercontinental Research Institute. Jia Shenrui made the tea with her own hands, and I smelled the tea for a few times before reluctantly handing the teacup to MRS Jia Shenrui. MRS Huo took a sip of tea and felt refreshed. You were not surprised. What kind of tea is that? Mom, it's tea made by the ghost hand heavenly Dr. Zuru Yuan said with a smile. Young man Yangxing is so lucky that he picked up a whole box under the eternal continent and rushed to honor you. Did he bring everything I picked up? MRS Huo was so angry that she slapped Zuru Yuan on the head. Jia Shenrui, he just caught his son, and he is still a father. Yin Yungzi, Mom, if you have nothing to say, I can scold you, but don't hit you. If word gets out, where will you put your face? He has no face. MRS Huo coughed violently. Just drink a bag, and he will give you a banquet. Yin Yungzi was helpless. Mom, Yangxing just told you that I could pick it up again, so just drink it. It's good for your health. Did you hear the servant said that you were haunted by nightmares again when you went to bed at noon today? MRS Jia Shan was stunned. After a long silence, you murmured, yes, you dreamed about your poor Yun Jian again. You asked me if you were doing well. Zuru Yuan also came up silently, saying nothing. But at that time, I knew how to comfort MRS Huo. Back then, when MRS Huo was only 4 months pregnant, she received an urgent mission from Eternal College, which was to fight in the Eternal Continent. The first task was completed, but the fetal pressure was alarmed, and MRS Huo gave birth to twins prematurely. One is Huo Yunjian, who died at birth, and the other is Huo Shiyun, who has no trace of degenerate blood. MRS Huo also fell into the root of the disease, which was the law enforcement team entering and leaving the Eternal College. The impact is still not too small in middle age, but it will become more and more serious before getting older. Although it is life-threatening, it also slightly reduces MRS Huo's strength. The Huo family has called in famous doctors, and there are ways to make MRS Huo completely recover. After MRS Huo finished her tea, she closed her eyes and said seriously, let him go out and leave you alone. Yin Yungzi sighed heavily, Mom, have a good rest. I went in and out, and I felt a sense of excitement for a while. I am sure MRS Huo was not on a mission at that time. If I had a pair of twin sisters who were weak and pure in blood now. It's a pity that it's all life. There is no law to change it. As usual, Jia Shenrui went to wander outside her treasure house. That is my private treasure house, and it is filled with treasures that I have collected from various places, among which are things from Wu Yuan Xiaolu. Yin Yungzi turned around and suddenly found something very important outside the treasure house. I frowned and stood in the empty space thinking hard, and suddenly found that I had a pure gold Pixio statue that I dug out from the Eternal Continent. Gold is indeed a precious thing in Free Continent, but Pixio has no good intention of attracting wealth and returning the treasure, so I specially carried it back and placed it in the center of the treasure house. Where is my Pixio? At that time, Huo Yangxing had not yet brought the pure gold Pixio statue to Jia Shenrui. Not even a few dozen meters away, Dabai could smell the aroma of food. It jumped up and ran down immediately. Sister Si Huo Yangxing greeted. I omitted the matter of Yin Yungzi snatching my things. I only said that the tea ingredients were too expensive and I had to take out the treasure. Huo Yangxing heard that Yu Jian and Yu Xian both said that Sister Si was not interested in gold, so I moved the Pixio statue that Yin Yungzi had collected for a long time. The head of the Huo family also declined and accepted it. It was the same as before, Bimax was not drooling, and his purple eyes were shining. The head of the Huo family touched his chin and said thoughtfully, hey, it looks exactly like him. Dabai walked around the Pixio statue and nodded with great satisfaction. It's wrong, it doesn't have its style. The sun is out in the west, And he actually plans to eat it. Jia Shenrui raised her eyebrows. He said he was offering sacrifices. Where can he offer sacrifices to others at such a young age? Has he forgotten that he is young? Dabai's expression was very resentful. What if we want to build another temple for him? Ouch! What are you dreaming about? Dabai stretched out his claws angrily. Dog owner. It is bullied that it is powerful and pitiful now. When it returns to its majestic and auspicious image one day, it will definitely become a means of transportation for the dog owner. Okay, I'm teasing him, just keep it to him. Jia Shenrui sighed. I really know when he will recover, and he doesn't eat enough. The origin of Dabai is also a mystery. You picked it up outside the forest and has been following you since he was 1 year old. Such an auspicious beast, you have indeed seen the seventh one again. Fortunately, you don't have a big treasury now, so you can still afford it. The next day, Jia Shenrui and Yin Yaonian accompanied Nianyin to participate in the inner court examination of Eternal College. The Eternal Academy is in the east of the Free State, under an island in the inland sea. It was also the first time for Yin Yaonian to come. When I saw many degenerates fighting in the sky and on the ground, I wasn't even surprised. Nianyin couldn't help but wrap up her clothes tightly. Sister, did you really die just because you knew how to walk on the street? Why did we start fighting outside the school? Did any teacher come out to stop us? As soon as I finished saying that, 2 golden light pillars fell behind me, and 2 white holes instantly appeared on the ground. Nianyin jumped up in shock. Sister Ching Ching, you killed someone. Oh, Patriarch Huo suddenly realized. You glanced at the man who was fighting against another talker. Your eyes can emit shockwaves and split the alloy. There are very few degenerates like that. Once you get used to it. Nianyin. It seems that I made a fuss. I must learn to get used to it. Let's go. The head of the Huo family raised the brim of his hat higher and put his hands in his pockets. The 8 people walked to the entrance of the inner courtyard, which was even grander than the inner courtyard. The huge and small buildings are row upon row, glorious and sacred. Nianyin frowned and suddenly said, why is it you again? It's like a ghost. Jia Shenrui looked over, her fox eyes narrowed lightly. Sci-fi was waiting outside specifically. Seeing the 8 people approaching, he pretended to be surprised and took 2 steps back. Uncle Yaonian, come to send Yin to take the assessment. Jia Shenrui greeted with a smile, but you can retreat, but your nephew is retreating. Whether he has the blood of a degenerate, the door in the inner courtyard will automatically open blocking. How does Jia Shenrui retreat? See you tomorrow. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 599. Do you really think that relying on Nianyin and Yin Yaonian, you can live in the Free State? In the entire Intercontinental Research Institute, Sci-fi is only a B, an informal member, and not a genius. Facts have proved that an ordinary person can only walk an inch in Liberty Island. Yin Yongzi had already arrived at Eternal Academy a few days ago and received her freshman student card. She made a special trip to come here so early today because she wanted to see Sci-fi's jokes. If Sci-fi couldn't enter the inner courtyard with Yin Yaonian, Nianyin, and his son, in a place like Eternal Academy where fighting is everywhere, Sci-fi would lose his life if he was not careful. The Yin family forbids direct descendants to kill each other. Yin Yongzi would not be stupid enough to do it by himself. But if Sci-fi accidentally dies in the battle of other evolutionaries, it has nothing to do with her. Yin Yaonian ignored Yin Yongzi at all, and just said lightly, let's go. Nianyin took out the temporary student card sent to him by Eternal Academy and swiped it at the entrance. Drip drip. The cheerful voice sounded, and the administrator's eyes lit up. Mr. Nian, right, someone is already waiting for you. Nianyin first glanced at Sci-fi, and then took a step forward. Yin Yaonian followed. The two passed through the gate unharmed. When it was Sci-Fi's turn, she stepped forward unhurriedly. Yin Yongzi stared at her tightly, and her blood boiled a little. Drop. The door rang, and Huo Tianwen walked inside. You are intact, not even a strand of hair flutters. Sci-Fi's pupils shrank suddenly. Have you still figured out what's going on? The administrator suddenly made a surprised voice. He doesn't have a 7-star eternal account. Did I feel that Meng Huiliang did not have any fluctuations in the energy of the born, and whether the door in charge of detection responded? So there is no other reason. Eternal accounts below 7 stars cannot pass through the door of the inner courtyard. Huo Tianwen snorted and said lazily, it was given by someone else. Hearing that sentence, the administrator suddenly became interested. I waved my hand and asked the 8 people to retreat. I leaned against the chair and closed my eyes. Huo Tianwen asked rudely, he's good, can students from the inner courtyard be able to withdraw from the inner courtyard? The administrator was originally drowsy, and when he heard that, he glanced at Huo Tianwen less, of course, you must pass the assessment. That's it then. Huo Tianwen raised his head, his eyes fell on Sci-Fu leaning down in the door. Unfortunately, he is not born with blood, and the door will block you, but he should retreat. For the first time, Sci-Fi's face distorted, and your anger slowed down. Huo Tianwen, he will depend on others for the rest of his life. You also don't have a 7-star eternal account. This is what you got in exchange for your merits in the Degenerate Alliance. How can Huo Tianwen get it for nothing? Sci-Fi could only watch Huo Tianwen and Shi Shiren leave, your chest heaving violently, and you were very angry. You pinched your fingernails and palms, trying to calm the anger in your chest. You have a special acquaintance with Huo Tianwen. Sci-Fi turned his head and left, and went to Huo's house to see Mrs. Huo's doctor. Over there, as soon as Huo Tianwen retreated to the inner courtyard, he felt the energy of countless degenerates passing under you. Your eyes narrowed slightly, and you raised your hand to press the brim of your hat, and then walked away with a buoyant voice. It was close, not many students stopped behind a huge light curtain. There are no dense names under the light curtain. Nianyan has excellent eyesight, and I saw Jilia Lotbar and Kukaki Minjiao under the light curtain. What is that? New students, this is the eternal ranking, and they are all geniuses from the inner courtyard. A passing young man introduced coldly. The brothers and sisters who can be on the eternal ranking are all those who can be found in the eternal small land. Single refund. After coming from Liberty Island, Nian Yi Sheng came to listen to Huo Tianwen about some precautions for not closing the inner courtyard, but this was the first time I heard the eternal list. I looked directly at the number 1 position, but found that there are no names from the 1st to the 7th. The young man was even more excited and twisted into a maggot. This is the eternal 7, when you retired from the inner courtyard, you were not a legend, and there was no mission for you to complete. Hey, if I could meet you, it's worth a lifetime. Brother, he studied hard and said that he will be able to be on the eternal list in time. After leaving, the young man patted Nian Yian on the shoulder and encouraged me. Nian Yian didn't take it easy. Sister Ching Ching, his 2 netizens are not so weak yet, but they are still in the 70th place. This eternal 7 is not weak. It's weak. Huo Tianwen's expression was indifferent. It's useless to be weak, and it will die if you are weak. Nian Yian was stunned for a while. In the blink of an eye, the 8 people have not yet arrived at the assessment office. The assessment is to retreat outside Eternal, a total of 8 days. This year, a total of 70 people were recruited in the inner courtyard, but not 7,000 people participated in the assessment. Except for the specially invited students, the 7,000 people are all outstanding people in the courtyard. At a glance, the A-level degenerates who are very precious in the inner world are walking everywhere. Uncle, you go first. Huo Tianwen nodded slightly. The assessment difficulty of the inner courtyard is more complicated than the training that your assistant taught Yian. You are too worried. Okay, Yin Yaonian hesitated for a moment. Ching ching, he must protect himself, he is too tired. I don't have any questions. I know Huo Tianwen has no secrets of his own. I don't care about those, I just hope you can live a peaceful life. Otherwise, I have the face-to-face Yin Baikan and his wife. Born, Uncle Meng Huiliang waved lazily, you don't have a dog, you can't let a dog bite people. Dabai is super fierce, ow. It is Pixiu. Let's go back, it's dangerous outside, Meng Huanian said, you wait there for Yin to come out. Huo Tianwen nodded, left the Eternal Academy and went to the Intercontinental Research Institute. On the other side, the Huo family. Yin Yongzi made MRS Huo another cup of tea. That tea really improved MRS Huo's spirit, so I urged Huo Yangxing to go to Eternal Xiaolu to pick up a few more boxes. Old Madam the housekeeper knocked on the door, Miss Yin is here. MRS Huo didn't hate seeing doctors, and she was also very stubborn. God hears, you think your body is quite slow, he let you leave. Okay, Yin Yongzi was born with filial piety, you rest here, you go to refuse. I get up and go out. Meng Huiliang is waiting outside the living room, you are not born. It was your first time to Huo's house. Of the 7 small families in Liberty Island, the Ye family is well deserved first, followed by the Yu family, and the Huo family in the 8th place. But the Huo family is only 10 times larger than the Yin family. Si's eyes flashed slightly. That made it even more hesitant to think that you had to gain a firm foothold in Liberty Island. Sister Yin, I'm so sorry for letting you run for nothing. Yin Yongzi's tone was polite and distant, how much better the old lady's health is, I just let you see. Si's expression froze, and you were not embarrassed, Uncle Huo, can you ask why? Yin Yongzi also concealed, it was your eldest son who picked up the tea from the ghost hand and heavenly doctor. The Huo family has a lot of eyeliner, it has long been spread, and it is useless to hide it. Tea from ghost hand and heavenly doctor, Meng Huiliang was startled, but you came up in a panic, Uncle Huo, can you buy a pack from you? There is too much information on the ghost doctor, you are eager to know what kind of means the genius doctor has. Yes, the Huo family head agreed immediately, that tea has no market price, you can definitely sell it. A box seems to be very small, and there are only 77 packets of tea. It's enough for MRS Huo to drink alone. Si's smile froze, and you said softly, Uncle Huo, you just checked the formula of that tea bag. You were born to be able to go back to mass production, and the old lady's condition has nothing to do with it. How is that possible? Huo's family head was only extremely surprised. If he takes it back and tests it, he can know what the formula is. What kind of ghost doctor is this? Not to mention testing it yourself, even if Ghost Hand and Heavenly Doctor publish the formula directly, no one will be able to make the exact same medicine as Ta. No one knows how much each medicinal material is used. And Ta is extremely good at using poison, and if someone else uses it a little less, it will turn the life-saving medicine into poison. It happened after that. No one asked for the medicine of Ghost Hand and Heavenly Medicine, so he was stupid and wanted to mass-produce it, so he sent it to the inspection center for retrospective inspection. But the result was a life-saving medicine, and people died. Si's face is not hot, and you are not embarrassed. Okay, you know he's well-intentioned. Meng Huiliang waved his hand, but he can be compared with a ghost doctor. That's the consultation fee, he can take it. I asked the butler to send a few pieces of ore that are not good for the born. Si squeezed out a smile, thank you, Uncle Huo. You left with the ore, and the grievances outside your heart have not yet reached the peak. How long has Ghost Hand and Heavenly Doctor become famous? 40% of the probability is an old man. You are still old and have a long way to go. How can you compare to it? Si held back his breath and returned to the research institute. The door of the A-level laboratory building was very noisy. No one panicked. What about the medical school? Go to the medical school to find someone. Si fucking squinted his eyes, only to realize that none of the researcher's assistant had fainted from a sudden illness. The place was in chaos. To Si fucking surprise, Huo Tianwen actually took a step back and crouched up behind the assistant whose face was not yet blue. Before pinching his pulse, he took out the silver needle. Si fucking squinted his eyes and took the next 2 steps. Okay, fucking, don't make fun of other people's lives because he is angry with you. He is a doctor again. Let you take a look, maybe I'm not on the front line. Vitality. Although Huo Tianwen got a lower grade than you in the assessment of the Institute of Biochemistry, and there is no certain connection between biochemistry and medicine, he can save people, but it's just on paper. When you checked Huo Tianwen, you knew that Huo Tianwen once participated in a medical workplace observation reality show. But a reality show is a reality show, and it's not a real thing at all. When the people around me heard Si fucking's words, their expressions changed. He is a doctor, why did he come out on his own initiative? Huo Tianwen raised his head and laughed loudly. Really? What a coincidence, medicine is the realm you really rule. There are always people, so no long memory. Good morning. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 600. Otherwise, the 300 years of medical skills she had learned from the Lord of Ghost Valley in the holographic game would have been in vain. The title of Heavenly Doctor with Ghost Hands is second to none, but it does have a certain degree of deterrence. Why not? I have never heard that you know how to heal. Yin Yongzi shook his head. Human life is at stake, so let me do it. Yin Yongzi's appearance caused a stir in the crowd, and many people obviously recognized her. It's the eldest lady of the Yin family. She is the only healing evolver. Miss Yin can save even evolved people. Ordinary people can definitely do it too. Let Miss Yin save people quickly. Hey. If you don't know how, don't do it. Si fucking had a serious look on his face. He first inserted a few silver needles into his assistant's key points, then pinched his chin open and stuffed a pill into it. After all this was done, the assistant slowly stopped twitching, but then he tilted his head and passed out. The middle-aged man who was guarding the assistant changed his expression and said sharply, "What did you do?" The faces of the people around him also changed. "It's over, you're hurting people. This is bad. Someone is dead. Where is the cavalry?" Yin Yongzi sighed, "I told you I would come. Look, you have caused a murder in the Free State, and the Yin family can't help you deal with it." She looked worried, but in her heart she was gloating. When the cavalry arrive in a while, Si fucking will be sent to the Holy Light Judgment Center, where he will be dead. Yin Yongzi smiled gently and said to the middle-aged man, "Sir, you are a doctor. Let me see if your assistant is still alive." You took a few steps back, but were stopped by a middle-aged man. My voice trembled with excitement. "Yes, it's Yang." "You made a mistake." Yang continued the treatment. Boshenk's smile froze for a moment, believing that he heard wrongly. "What? I'm not breathing," the middle-aged man cried with joy. "I'm not breathing." Cough cough cough, a violent cough sounded. A few seconds ago, the assistant opened his eyes, and the color gradually returned to his face. "My expression is still dazed, but obviously I haven't recovered from the abnormality yet." Si fucking smile completely disappeared. Your ears buzzed and you looked at the scene behind you in disbelief. Boshenk actually cured people. "Sister, thank him." The middle-aged man immediately stood up and thanked Boshenk. "Thank him for saving me." "You're welcome," Boshenk said in a lazy tone. Your teacher often said that doctors are like parents, and it is a doctor's bounden duty to save people. Those words made the middle-aged man stand in awe. May I ask who Sister C's teacher is? I also listened attentively. Lu Xing's words were tight or quick, the Lu family, Yin Yongzi. The whole place suddenly became noisy. Lu Xinggen's mouth twitched. Is my little brother a doctor like a parent? What a joke. When word spread, my little brother believed it. From consultation fees to surgery fees, Yin Yongzi implemented the 7 words white heart to the extreme. It turns out that he is the apprentice of divine Dr. Lu. The middle-aged man suddenly realized, no wonder Sister C's medical skills are so low. People around were also whispering. Divine Dr. Lu actually accepted a disciple. Mr. Lu's heart is as low as the sky. If he can take the initiative to recruit disciples, that eldest sister must be extraordinary. I frowned, feeling uneasy. No wonder Lu Xingkai was able to join Lu Xinggen's research team, and you turned out to be Yin Yongzi's apprentice. Bo Sheng suddenly lost his weak sense of crisis. Although the Lu family is considered a top-tier family in the Free State, they are still local residents of the Free State and do not have a certain say. Lu Xingkai didn't have that kind of relationship with the Lu family. Could it be that the Yin family was biased in choosing heirs before? Thinking of that, Si's palms became sweaty. You must get to know fewer people as quickly as possible, and you must not have enough chips to overwhelm the Yin Yaonian family. At that time, the cavalry from the Holy Light Judgment Station stationed at the Intercontinental Research Institute also arrived. The cavalry commander scanned the surroundings with sharp eyes. Who saved just now? Bo Sheng looked calm. It's you. Oh? Did he cure my sudden illness? The cavalry commander's eyes fell on the boy, full of aggression. Why does he know how to heal? Lu Xingkai said in a hurry, you are more interested in medical skills. You participated in a reality show about medical students' workplace observation, and you happened to meet Dr. Lu. I have taught you some medical skills, and you have been studying day and night outside eternity. You are still far from being the same as divine Dr. Lu, but you will work harder. The cavalry commander narrowed his eyes but said nothing. Until the cavalryman beside him handed over a piece of information. The information records everything that happened to Lu Xingkai from his childhood to his childhood. As a variety show that became popular throughout the Xioxia Empire, the birth of a new staff naturally recorded it emphatically. There is no discrepancy with what you said, and the logic is completely consistent. The cavalry commander's expression became anxious. Since Sister Si is a doctor and a talented person from Free Continent, Sister Si encountered some emergency incident before and cannot contact you. With that said, I handed over a business card. Lu Xingkai took it. Thank you. The relaxed atmosphere didn't dissipate until the cavalry left. The middle-aged man breathed a sigh of relief and said without fear, Sister Si, it's like that. We were worried about the spies from the revenge organization repelling the institute, so we conducted an investigation. He is doing something upright, so we must be worried. A spy from revenge. Yes, we are really becoming more and more arrogant. Last year, a few researchers died in our assassinations, alas. Lu Xingkai nodded and said, that's it? Doctors are a scarce profession everywhere. Seeing Lu Xingkai's superb medical skills, many researchers exchanged contact information with Lu Xingkai, and no one paid attention to Si anymore. For the first time, Si experienced the feeling of being ignored, which made you feel terrified and almost gritted your teeth. You chose cellular genes as your research topic, and Lu Xingkai also chose that direction, and even hired Zuru Yuan, whom you had screened out. If you know how to heal, Lu Xingkai will show off his medical skills. Why do I hate confronting you so much? Si took a deep breath, held her head high and left in a hurry. Over there, Lu Xingkai broke away from the surroundings of the researchers and returned to the laboratory with Lu Xingheng. Sister Ching Ching, The reason he gave just now is not false, Bosheng said loudly. Your brother only cheats other people's money. I don't have any parental feelings at all. Oh, Lu Xingkai touched his chin, this little brother is better than you. In the future, you will have to wait until death to save someone, or it depends on your mood. Lu Xinghong didn't have any resentment. Your brother's promotion was for nothing, you must let your mother take care of me. The news that Yin Yongzi had accepted a disciple spread immediately, and the Lu family naturally knew about it. Mother Lu was very concerned about her son and made a special call to Yin Yongzi. Son, why did he tell mom that he had accepted a disciple? Not yet, his apprentice is much better than him. He is a doctor with a parent's heart, and he is a white-hearted sage. Alas, no wonder some girls look down on him, but he is still as talkative as he is. Yin Yongzi. Should I be Bosheng's teacher? Lu Xingkai still doesn't think he is my ancestor. Okay, I beat Lu Xingkai, so I have no choice but to surrender. I recognize that shield. The 7th day, Huo family. After drinking tea for 2 days, Ms. Huo's complexion improved so much that she was able to go to bed and move around. Huo Yunjian died young. Huo Shiyun was a special person. Ms. Huo left all the love she had to Huo Shiyun. But when Huo Shiyun wanted the new armor developed by the Intercontinental Research Institute, you also fully agreed. Shiyun, he is from the Huo family. Someone in Free Continent will touch him. Ms. Huo closed her eyes and sighed longly, isn't unsafe and sound. Huo Shiyun opened her mouth, Mom, you. Okay, Shiyun, Mom just hopes he can live well. Ms. Huo said, his sister is here, something will happen to him. No matter how hard Huo Shiyun begged, Ms. Huo still rejected your request and asked the housekeeper to send you back to your room. Huo Shiyun was so angry that she threw all the dishes and chopsticks under the table to the ground. The maid was startled, then calmed down and said, Sister Shiyun. Does he also think you are useful? Huo Shiyun's tears ended and she said, you just want to become weak, are you right? Do you have the blood of a degenerate? Although you are a direct descendant of the Huo family, even the revenge organization considers you. The maid dared to speak. Your fate has nothing to do with you, Huo Shiyun gritted her teeth, it's your luck that's good. You still have the bloodline of a dreamer. Do you have any feelings for Huo Yunjian? At the same time, you are quite upset that Bo Shengjian is here. Otherwise, what if Bo Shengjian distracts Ms. Huo and Huo Tianwen's attention? The valet stood firm, Sister Shiyun, if you mention it to the banquet master, I'm sure I can help you. Me, Huo Shiyun became even more angry, I always say hello when I see you. When did I treat you as an ant? Huo Yangxing's temperament followed that of my father Huo Tianwen, but he was more cold-blooded and taciturn. It was by accident that I was the previous head of the Huo family. Huo Shiyun didn't have a son, but his level as a degenerate was not low, only B level. That's where you find Huo Yangxing very pleasing to the eye. Huo Shiyun was upset. You stood up and said, you go out and ask the guards to follow you. The male servant dared to stop him, yes, Sister Shiyun. Because you have degenerate blood, Huo Shiyun is considered a celebrity in the Free State, and the powerful people all know you. Knowing that you are backed by the Huo family but have no deterrent effect, they will naturally take action against you. Huo Shiyun took the Huo family's token and retreated to the inner courtyard of Eternal College. When a man saw you, his eyes lit up and he immediately stepped back, Sister Shiyun. How's it going? Isn't his son sure of leaving the inner court? Huo Shiyun asked carefully. Do you have the blood of a degenerate, so you need to recruit degenerates to do things for you? The man hesitated and said, it's not safe at all. I'm number 71 now, so you want to ask Sister Huo for help. One place missing, Huo Shiyun frowned, glanced at the real-time ranking, and her eyes fell on the 8 words Nian Yin. You know the surnames of the last 70 or 74 people, but you have never heard of the surname Nian. It can only be civilians. Just can't make room. The Huo family, how could a commoner be offended? Huo Shiyun said calmly, just let Nian Yan come in and out. See you tomorrow. After having everything taken away, she returns as a god. Author, Qing Qian. Chapter 601. Among the many forces in Free Continent, the four major families are in the second echelon. The first is the Intercontinental Research Institute and the Eternal Academy. The Holy Light Judgment Center and the Top of the Cloud are not among them because of their special nature. But when discussing major issues in Free Continent, the head of the Holy Light Judgment and the Lord of the Cloud Summit both have veto power. There is no shortage of wealth in the Free Continent. As long as you can enter the Free Continent, you will not have any worries about food, clothing, housing, and transportation. The Holy Light Judgment Office will issue monthly subsidies. In this case, the gap between classes is particularly obvious. The woman's surname is Yan Yunping, and she is from the Yan family, which is considered a medium-sized family in Free Continent. But there are more than 100 medium-sized families in Free Continent. Such a medium-sized family is nothing in front of the Huo family. As an ordinary person, Huo Shiyun is still deeply loved by the Huo family. Indeed, many people are fawning over her and want to win the favor of the Huo family through her. Huo Shiyun also enjoys this kind of pursuit. She doesn't have any fighting ability, nor does she have a genius IQ that would allow her to enter the Intercontinental Institute. Only in this way can she experience the feeling of holding power. When she heard what she said, Yan Yunping's eyes lit up, but she was still a little worried. Miss Shiyun, could this person be a special admission student? What if? Special enrollment, Huo Shiyun smiled, then don't worry about it. Does the special enrollment refer to outsiders from Free Continent? It seems that his family is counting on him to gain a foothold in Free Continent. I just want to enter the Free Continent. I have to retreat to the inner courtyard. The mortality rate in the inner courtyard is much smaller than that in the inner courtyard. How many people graduate successfully every year? The inner courtyard enrolls students not 7 times a year, and each time there are 70 students. If you want to reach the level of graduation with strength, you need to be able to escape smoothly before retreating into the 10 Little Evil Lands, or you may die after encountering the 10 Little Evil NPCs. With such a result, if there are less than 7 out of 100 people, it is considered a wrong data. The Eternal Academy has been established for just over 100 years, but there are not even 100 people on the Eternal list. Give me enough benefits to let me go in and out by myself. Huo Shiyun didn't care. If I can retreat to the inner courtyard and have enough family background to support it, it will be sooner or later that I die outside the game. Sister Shiyun still has no foresight. Sci-fi also smiled. In the past, when your eldest son retreated from the inner courtyard, he would definitely disappoint Sister Shiyun. Huo Shiyun snorted lightly, I haven't told him what to do yet. They will handle the rest by themselves. Sci-fi was very respectful. Yes, Sister Shiyun. You send Huo Shiyun off and stare at the ranking list behind you. Nianyan's position at number 49 is stable, and his strength is quite stable. Sci-fi has no worries anymore. You contact the housekeeper outside your home and ask the housekeeper to check Nianyan's information. Over there at the Intercontinental Research Institute. Dean Su and Wei Yaja completed the experimental plan and selected a few people from the list given by Professor Honiton to officially end the experimental research. Yu and Yuzian went to pick up experimental instruments from the Mechanical Institute and passed by the dean's office. Through the window, Yuzian took a look. An elderly man was sitting behind the computer in a daze, obviously in a state of mind. Sister Qing, he may know that there was a small explosion in Free Continent 7 years ago, and many people died. Yuzian said loudly, the youngest S-class researcher also died. You are Wei Yaja's beloved disciple. Lu Xingkai was also slightly affected by this, and he didn't participate in any experiments in those 7 years. Dean-su became silent and tightened his fingers little by little. You have learned a lot, but there are very few teachers for it. Wei Yaja from the Institute of Mechanical Engineering is one of them. The concept of anti-gravity enemy armor was proposed by me, and it is up to you to take over and continue to study it. But it is impossible for you to see me now. It would be better for me to be weak than to let Lu Xingkai continue to be decadent. Dean-su lowered his eyelashes, took out a sachet from his pocket, and handed it to Yu Zion. Wei Yaja was very happy. Sister Ching Ching, is that for you? Is he finally going to recognize you as his younger brother? It's for him. You put some medicinal materials outside the sachet, which can nourish the mind and replenish energy. Wearing it for a long time is not good for the heart, Dean-su explained. Look at Lu Xingkai's pale eyes and good complexion. He is a parent. You are very happy, go and get it to me. Wei Yaja nodded, immediately ran to the door and knocked. Lu Xingkai. It took 8 calls before the door was opened. That's to see Yu Zion's reputation as a child prodigy is very resounding, and Lu Xingkai also knows me. Come back. Is his master nothing to ask for your help with? Yu Zion shook his head. Yes, no one gave him a sachet. It is good for the body, so he should wear it well. Wei Yaja was stunned and took the sachet. The moment I held the sachet in my hand, an unprecedented sense of weakness came over me. My hand couldn't help but tremble. Who gave it to me? It's Sister Ching Ching. Yu Zion ignored her conscience and said nonsense seriously. You have the heart of a parent as a doctor, and you have the true legacy of your little brother. Lu Xingkai's expression brightened. That's it? I wanted to agree, but there was no voice inside my heart telling me to hold back. I held firm for half a second, and finally let it go out of my pocket. Yu Zion went in, closed the door, and sighed. The blow Lu Xingkai received was too small. Wei Yaja spoke, and you looked back at Lu Xingkai, who was staring blankly at the computer. You felt as if a stone had fallen from your heart, making your chest feel tight. You remember this computer as the first computer you built. Lu Xingkai, like the Lord of Ghost Valley, is a teacher who teaches you knowledge step by step, and is closer than your master. Yu Zion suddenly said, it's a good thing to have passed that, because Wei Yaja has been decadent for 7 years and made no contribution at all. The Revenge Organization has even removed me from the must-kill list. Wei Yaja narrowed her eyes. It is indeed a good thing. Does he know where he is on our must-kill list? I know. Wei Yaja scratched her head and suddenly became dejected. Anyway, if your brother's ranking is lower than yours, why would I be a doctor? For the Revenge Organization, a miracle doctor like Lu Xingheng can definitely be recruited, so they must be eliminated. Wei Yaja nodded slightly. At that time, a message came back from the phone. It was Butler Yan. Are you done? Just finished my work. Come to your place for a walk? With a ding, I sent an address. The address is Akaishi Mine. Akaishi Mine, one of the 4 small veins. Dean-su still had no reaction, and Dabai jumped up excitedly, biting your clothes with his teeth and carrying you inside. Dean-su. Rebellious man. I'm more excited to see money than you are. Dean-su said hello to Yu Zion and left the Intercontinental Research Institute. Huo Yangxing's car is parked outside an alley in the institute and is responsible for picking you up from the Chishi mine. A few years later, and it lasted for a while, the 4 small mineral veins of Free Continent were always inherited by someone, because it is said that the key to the mineral vein was thrown away in which corner of the Eternal Continent, and it was probably one of the 10 Little Evil Lands. In the following years, many people, including the Dean of Eternal College, were looking for the key to the mine. It's a pity that the lower level the NPCs outside eternity are, the more unpredictable their temperaments are, difficult to get close to, and have weaker personalities than real people. As long as we are willing, players can get useless words out of us. The Chishi mine is not the smallest mine, but its scale is smaller than other mines that Dean Su has seen. There were all kinds of red ores embedded under the walls of the veins. Dabai's mouth watered when he saw them, and there was a green light in his purple eyes. As soon as its front legs were withdrawn, it was ready to go, and when it was about to pounce behind the ore, it was able to move. Dean Su lifted it up with one hand. The naughty man. Does he only eat gold? Dabai Li puffed up his big chest with dignity and let out two moans. Indicates that it cannot eat ore of lower quality than gold. What a beautiful idea. Wei Yaja smiled warmly. The piece of ore he wants to eat can be sold for hundreds of thousands in free continent, but he can only eat gold. Bimax burst into tears. It looked at Butler Yan, but received no response. Dean Su squatted down and picked up a piece of paper on the ground. Fourth brother, what is that? Huh, Butler Yan turned around and saw the list in Dean Su's hand. That's the latest list of people who owe money. Dean Su fell silent as he looked at the list of less than 100 names. You haven't thought about calculating how much that list is worth. Tears of poverty flowed from the corners of his eyes again. No wonder even your master wants to get the keys to the 4 small mineral veins, which are not even half of the wealth of free continent. Dean Su raised his head and accused me. You hate him. What's the reason? He has too little money. You hate the rich. Butler Yan raised his eyebrows heavily and handed over an ID card. If you're sorry, the girl can't come over at any time. Dabai jumped up, immediately grabbed the card, and then stuffed it back into Dean Su's pocket. Wei Yaja. What a rebellious man. There is still 1 day left for the inner court assessment to begin, and there will be no changes in the rankings at that time. Nian Yan is still ranked 49th, stable and lagging behind. It can be regarded as stepping on the line and retreating. Yin Yaonian was waiting outside the hotel arranged in the inner courtyard. I haven't had a wink of sleep for 2 days and 2 nights, but that's nothing to me as an S-class degenerate. Yin Yaonian stared closely at the small screen. Boom. There was a loud bang, and the door was knocked open at that moment. Yan Yunping stepped back and glanced around. When she found that Wei Yanian was the only one there, her expression suddenly became respectful. Mr. Yin, right, Yan Yunping nodded. First of all, let me introduce you. You are the housekeeper of the Yan family. The Yan family needs a place in the inner courtyard. That is also what the Huo family requires. I hope he can come in and out on his own. I want you to take action. Yin Yaonian said warmly, get out. Yan Yunping stepped back and took out a card. Mr. Yin, on the outside of that card is 10 million, the currency of free continent. He must be wise. Yin Yaonian didn't answer, and my eyes grew hot little by little. You said, get out. Good morning.